If tomorrow morning you woke up knowing with absolute certainty that you had exactly 1 year left to live, what would you do differently today? Would you abandon the endless, meaningless arguments? Would you finally dare to speak the words of love you have been holding back for so long? The truth is this: none of us knows how much time remains. Every day, every hour, flows through our fingers like water through an open hand. So why do we continue to act as if we were immortal? Let us journey into philosophy to discover why accepting impermanence and finitude can make every moment of life shine with a new brilliance. Impermanence means that everything changes. Every object, every feeling, every relationship passes through a cycle of arising and fading. Nothing stays the same, and nothing lasts forever. Finitude reminds us that human life has a clear boundary. Our time is limited and cannot be bought, stretched, or bargained for. The sand in the hourglass falls, grain by grain, no matter how tightly we grip the glass. Two great streams of Western thought illuminate these truths: Stoicism, represented by Marcus Aurelius, and existentialism, shaped by Heidegger, both teach that death is not an enemy, but a companion whose presence can give meaning to life. Marcus Aurelius urged us to live fully in the present, treating death as a natural event, not as a catastrophe. Each morning he recommended asking, "If this day were my last, how would I act?" This daily reflection brings focus and serenity, trimming away the excess of ambition and fear. Centuries later, Heidegger described human existence as being toward death. For him, death is not merely the final scene. It is a constant possibility shaping every choice. To know that we are moving toward death is to wake up from the sleep of routine and the pressure of the crowd. It calls us to live authentically, to claim our own desires and responsibilities. Through these ideas, we begin to see that impermanence is not a threat, but an invitation to gratitude, to presence, and to courage. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome and philosopher of the Stoic school, offers a calm, unsentimental view of life's brevity. In his Meditations, he writes, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This is not a dark warning, but a liberating call to attention." Each dawn, Marcus advised himself to remember that the day ahead might be his last. By holding that thought, he stripped away trivial fears and shallow ambitions. Power, wealth, and praise meant little if tomorrow's sun might rise on a world without him. What endured was virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, and self-discipline. The Romans had a custom that embodied this wisdom. When a victorious general paraded through the city in a triumphal procession, a servant stood behind him and whispered, "Remember, you are mortal." Even at the height of glory, the reminder of death kept arrogance in check and the mind clear. To practice Marcus's teaching today is to adopt the discipline known as memento mori. Remember that you must die. Far from morbid, it sharpens the taste of every moment. A shared meal becomes a celebration, a quiet evening, a treasure. The knowledge that time is slipping through our fingers urges us to spend it on what truly matters: acts of kindness, honest work, and the simple beauty of the present hour. Martin Heidegger, a 20th century German philosopher, deepened the insight that death is not merely the last page of life, but a constant presence shaping every choice we make. He coined the phrase "being toward death." For Heidegger, death is not just a distant event on the calendar. It is a possibility woven into every moment of existence. Most of the time, we flee from this reality. We distract ourselves with routines, with social approval, with endless tasks that keep us comfortably numb. Heidegger called this the life of the they, a life lived according to what others expect rather than what we truly desire. But the awareness that death could arrive at any time breaks this spell. It shakes us awake. When we accept our finitude, we begin to live authentically. We no longer postpone our deepest projects or silence our real voice for fear of judgment. Instead, we ask, if this were my last conversation with this person, what would I say? If this were my final opportunity to act, what would I choose? This is not an invitation to reckless urgency, but to clarity. Knowing that every meeting might be the last transforms even ordinary encounters. A quiet dinner with family, a casual greeting to a neighbor, a walk beneath evening skies. Each becomes charged with meaning because it might never be repeated. In the noise of modern life, endless notifications, the pressure to perform, the constant comparison, Heidegger's reminder is radical. It tells us to stop living by borrowed standards and to take responsibility for our own existence. Only by standing face to face with mortality can we truly claim our days as our own. When human beings confront the reality of death, an almost universal reaction emerges. Anxiety. This is not the ordinary worry about paying bills or passing exams. It is a deeper, more existential unease, a tremor that runs through the soul when we realize that everything we cling to, possessions, relationships, achievements, even our very bodies, is fragile and temporary. Both Marcus Aurelius and Martin Heidegger acknowledged this anxiety, but they also insisted that it can be transformed from a paralyzing fear into a wellspring of vitality. To feel anxious about mortality is to be reminded that we value life. And in that reminder lies the possibility of living more fully. Marcus Aurelius counseled acceptance of the universe's order. For him, anxiety is the symptom of resistance, of fighting against what is natural and inevitable. Death is not an accident, but a law woven into the fabric of existence. The Stoic way is to align ourselves with this law, to see each event, whether joyous or painful, as part of a larger rational whole. Anxiety diminishes when we stop demanding that life be different from what it is. By saying yes to reality, we discover freedom. Heidegger approached anxiety from a different angle. For him, the unease we feel when contemplating death is not something to be dissolved in acceptance, but something to be listened to with care. Ordinary fear attaches itself to specific objects, a dangerous animal, a looming deadline, a potential loss. But existential anxiety, or angst, has no such object. It arises from the recognition that we are finite, that at any moment our existence could vanish. This anxiety cannot be eliminated because it belongs to the very structure of being human. Yet it can be transformed. Instead of running from it, we can allow it to sharpen our awareness, to awaken us to the urgency of living authentically. This transformation is not automatic. Left unattended, anxiety can harden into despair or drive us into distraction. But when we face it directly, anxiety becomes a teacher. It whispers that time is precious, that postponement is an illusion, that the life we are waiting to begin is already slipping away. By listening to this whisper, we can redirect the energy of anxiety into choices that enliven rather than diminish us. Consider simple practices that channel this energy constructively. One such practice is keeping a gratitude journal. Each evening, we might write down 3 small things that gave us joy or comfort that day. A shared laugh, the glow of sunset on a building, a kind word from a friend. This ritual may seem trivial, yet it trains the mind to notice fleeting beauty, to savor what might otherwise go unnoticed. Gratitude interrupts the cycle of anxiety by reminding us that even in the face of mortality, life offers gifts worth cherishing. Another practice is devoting quality time to loved ones, without the interference of screens or distractions. To sit with someone in full presence, to listen without impatience, to share silence without discomfort. These are acts of profound affirmation. They say, "You matter, this moment matters." When mortality is kept in mind, such moments are seen in their true light, not as ordinary routines, but as treasures that cannot be repeated. A third practice is decisive action. Most people carry in their hearts a dream deferred, a project waiting for courage, a conversation avoided out of fear, a step postponed until someday. Mortality exposes the illusion of someday. It reveals that the only time we ever have is today. To act decisively, to make the phone call, to begin the project, to speak the truth is to honor life. Anxiety, instead of paralyzing, becomes the fuel that pushes us forward. When we turn anxiety into awareness, the character of everyday life changes. Meetings at work no longer feel like endless obligations, but occasions to ask, does this task express what matters to me? Does it serve others in a meaningful way? Or does it merely feed ego and routine? With this question in mind, we begin to distinguish between noise and significance, between shallow busyness and authentic contribution. In relationships, the transformation is even more profound. Gratitude, apology, and love lose their power if postponed. Too many people carry unspoken words, "Thank you, I am sorry, I love you," until it is too late. Anxiety about death makes us realize that silence is costly. To speak these words now is to free ourselves from regret and to give others the gift of honesty. Mortality makes love urgent, and urgency makes love real. In our patterns of consumption too, the awareness of impermanence reshapes choices. Modern culture constantly urges us to accumulate more clothes, more gadgets, more status symbols. Yet possessions cannot hold time still. They cannot insulate us from change. By remembering death, we learn to choose less but choose better. Experiences, kindness, and shared moments endure far longer in memory than objects on a shelf. Anxiety about finitude guides us away from the futile pursuit of permanence through things and toward the cultivation of meaning through connections. This transformation of anxiety resonates with Buddhist teaching on impermanence. According to Buddhism, all conditioned things are transient. Clinging to them only produces suffering. Yet awareness of impermanence is not meant to depress, but to liberate. It frees us from attachment to what cannot last and opens us to the beauty of the present moment. Heidegger's thought, though rooted in Western philosophy, echoes this truth. But he adds his own twist. Awareness must not remain theoretical. It must lead to action. To know that life is brief is not to withdraw from it, but to engage more deeply, more bravely. What does it mean, then, to live under the guidance of this transformed anxiety? It means lighting each grain of sand in the hourglass, not trying to stop the flow, but making each one luminous. We cannot add even a single second to our allotted time, but we can make the seconds shine. Love without delay, create without fear, choose presence over distraction. When we understand impermanence, every moment becomes a chance to begin. The lessons for modern life are clear and practical. In work, before rushing into projects, pause and ask, if I had only a year to live, would this still matter? Often the answer will strip away the trivial and highlight. Imagine for a moment that tomorrow you awaken and know beyond all doubt that only 1 year remains. What would change? Would you cling to old arguments, replaying grievances that no longer matter? Would you finally speak the words of love you have held back, risking vulnerability for the sake of truth? Would you spend another hour scrolling through distractions, or would you step outside to feel the wind, to see the sky, to be with the people who matter most? This exercise is not fanciful. It is a mirror reflecting how little control we have over the length of life and how much control we have over its depth. The truth is that no one knows the number of their days. Time slips through our fingers, whether we notice or not. Yet this uncertainty is not a cause for despair, but a call to action, to live now, to act now, to cherish now. What then does it mean to live fully? It means to weave impermanence into our choices instead of denying it. To remember that gratitude is not a luxury, but a necessity. To say the words that heal and connect. To take the journeys that expand our souls. To create the work of beauty we have imagined but delayed. To hold the people we cherish with the awareness that the embrace may not be repeated. Living fully does not require dramatic gestures. It does not mean selling all possessions or traveling the globe in a frenzy of experience. Often it means paying attention to what is already present. The quiet dinner with family, the casual greeting to a neighbor, the evening walk beneath the sky. These are not interruptions of real life, but its essence. When seen through the lens of impermanence, they glow with meaning. To live fully also means to take responsibility for our own existence. Heidegger warned against living as they, absorbed in the routines and expectations of others. To awaken to mortality is to awaken to authenticity, to claim our desires and responsibilities without excuse. It is to ask, what do I truly value? And then to let the answer shape our days. Marcus Aurelius, centuries earlier, offered the same invitation in different words. You could leave life right now, he wrote. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This is not an invitation to reckless urgency, but to clarity. If death is possible at any moment, then every moment matters. Virtue, kindness, courage, and honesty are not abstract ideals, but the only currency worth spending in a finite life. The modern world resists this wisdom. It tempts us to distraction, to consumption, to endless postponement. But beneath the noise, the truth remains. Life is short. The choice is ours. Will we drift through it half asleep, or will we meet it awake, deliberate and grateful? Do not wait for time to give you permission. The clock is already running. Your life, finite, fragile, and radiant, is yours to make luminous. Say the words. Take the journey. Begin the work. Offer the love. For this moment, this very breath, is the only certainty you will ever have. To live with this awareness is not to deny sorrow or avoid suffering. Loss will come. Pain will visit. But even these, when faced with open eyes, become part of the great tapestry. They deepen our gratitude, sharpen our presence, and remind us again that nothing is guaranteed. And so the invitation remains simple, clear, and urgent. Live now, not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, not when fear has disappeared. Live now, because now is all that has ever been given. The final lesson of impermanence and finitude is not resignation, but radiance. It is the art of seeing the ordinary as extraordinary, the fleeting as precious, the finite as beautiful. When we understand this, our lives, however long or short, become deliberate works of art.